You know, they say it takes one to know one. So as an engineer with a big nose, I'd like to introduce you to Dilbert. That's right, your dad's favorite comic. Now, who is Dilbert? Do you know? Probably not, right? I mean, you don't even know who you are. If we think about it, you're still trying to find yourself, which is okay. Take your time. I will be supportive throughout that process, and I will be here for you if you need me. Unless I'm busy. Then I won't be there. But I will try to think of you the whole time. I wouldn't count on it, actually. But Dilbert is the main eponymous character of the comic strip Dilbert, about an engineer in a white-collar company. And of course, the comic is satirical, but as an engineer, I wanted to see how much of this satirical engineer comic lines up with the actualities of engineering. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at some Dilbert comics about engineering and see how well do they reflect, real life. Does art imitate life? Classic question that every intellectual is asking. How do you know that, Gauruv? How do you know every intellectual is asking that? Because I asked it. And I speak for all intellectuals. That's right. I give a voice to the voiceless by talking over them. Let's get started. Our VP of Sales asks that you answer customer questions through the sales rep, not directly. Is the goal to reduce the timeliness of my answers or just to filter out the accuracy? Why are you like this? Should I tell you or the sales reps? Get it? Now, this is a thing, though, in the world of engineering. If you are like a back-end engineer, you do typically have to talk to a customer-facing person so that they can deliver the news. In theory, the message should be the same, right? Whatever the engineer says, the salesperson will say the same thing. So why does the salesperson exist? Oh, wow. Good question. And handsome, too. The reason the salesperson exists is because sometimes there's things that can't be disclosed to an external person. So the salesperson's job is to filter out the internal information and just present what can be presented to the customer. Also, typically, the salesperson, not a knock to engineers, but the salesperson can typically package things in a nice, consumable way that makes sense. Sure, engineers know everything. Or they think they know everything, but sometimes the way they explain the information isn't very digestible. So that's where the salesperson comes in, and they put it in a nice package, put a bow on it, and then people will want to buy that. Getting an answer from an engineer is like getting the ingredients to a cake, but talking to a salesperson is like being given the cake. Sure, the engineer will give you everything you need, but not really how you want it. Whereas the salesperson will be like, okay, give me that. I'll put this together. Here you go. This is what you wanted. And you're like, yeah. See, that looks like a cake. Now I know what that is. So great one, Dilbert. That was a very applicable comic. Good job. 2 thumbs up. The beta test went well. Thank you, Dilbert. Now I'll have Tina add an impractical maintenance requirement to the manual and we're ready to go. What? It's standard procedure. Say the user needs to lube the product 10 times a day with the wax from a bear's ear, and say the warranty is voided if the device isn't properly maintained. Is that legal? It's better than legal. We're using the law to keep justice away. I feel sick. That's how you know it's working. Ooh, warranty. The bane of a corporation's existence. And you can see here they're using a clever way to work around that. Ooh. My favorite word, a workaround. You see, this company is the one that's making the rules. So if you're going to write the rules to the game, why would you not write them in your favor always? And that's not ethically correct, but that's what's happening here. Does the product work? Did it pass beta test? Yes, of course. That's not that difficult. But that warranty, let's find a way to avoid that as quick as we can. And the bear's earwax thing, that's going to be tucked away in some fine print. So when you, get a product that's not working eventually, for some reason the battery starts getting weaker and weaker year by year, and then you go to swap your phone out, they'll be like, well, did you do the earwax thing? And you're like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Yeah, you didn't do the bear wax thing. So what do you want us to do here? The request we got for a quote is vague, and the deadline for our response is tomorrow. If I ask for clarity, we'll miss the deadline. If I don't, our bid will either be below our cost or too high to win. Which path of certain failure do you prefer? I like the one that makes you work the hardest. This is a classic commentary on managers, right? An engineer is faced with the lose-lose, and even if the manager doesn't mean to, the idea is that, the manager will always pick the one that sucks the most for you. Again, they don't mean to pick that one. It just turns out that that's always the one they pick. And that's probably because to cover your bases, you have to do the option with the most work. Again, is the onus of clarity on the person that provided the quote? Yes. But again, like Dilbert said, if you go for clarification, then boom, you're going to miss your deadline. And then this, makes the commentary about how, managers will just pick the hardest option for you, which I guess makes sense, right? Because managers don't care what work it takes to get the thing done. They just know what needs to be done, not what it takes to get there. Unless you have a good, thorough manager, they'll understand all the steps it takes to get to that place. But I could see like some managers being like, oh, I don't care, don't talk to me about that. Just get me the thing done, okay? Even you spending the time to talk to me here is taking up time. So come on, what are you doing? Just go do the thing. Sounds like you know what needs to be done. Go do it. Why do you need to bother me? Also, if you haven't already noticed, the manager in Dilbert comics, he has, two pointy pieces of hair to basically be like, oh, he's the devil. That's also another little joke that's written into the comics. Ooh, manager bad. Right? That's a classic. Did you ask the lab if they have a way to test traffic loads on our prototype? I met with them for an hour and explained that we need traffic load test. But you didn't actually ask if they could do the test. Well, no, but it's their job to do the test, and they would have mentioned it if they didn't have a way to do it. But you didn't ask. That was the context of the meeting. If they couldn't do that sort of test, they would have mentioned it sometime during our hour together. Maybe you should ask. Gah, okay, I'll ask. I wondered why you didn't ask. Are you freaking kidding me? This is a classic workplace communication error. In the real world, this wouldn't be a communication error, but in the corporate world, all bets are off. See, Dilbert went to the lab and he was like, hey, just FYI, this is something that needs to be done. And of course, the only people that can do it is the lab, right? So by him saying we're going to need to do this, you would think, oh, then they should be ready to do the test because they're the person. It's like going to a Baskin-Robbins and being like, hey, after the baseball game, all the kids on the teams are going to need ice cream. Just FYI, Baskin-Robbins, all the kids on the field, they're going to need ice cream. And then after the baseball game, you go to Baskin-Robbins and they're like, holy shit, what the fuck? We didn't know that you were all going to come here. And it's like, no, but I told you all these kids were going to need ice cream. They're like, well, yeah, but you didn't tell us that you wanted us to provide it. And it's like, you're the only Baskin-Robbins within 100 miles of here. What do you mean? So this is a classic case where you have to be very explicit in what you need, even though you're going to the one person that only does that. And you're like, hey, just remember, you need to look at the person you're talking to and be like, I need this from you by this date. And is that understood? You have to clarify everyone's involvement in the process. That way everyone knows what's going on. I don't know why I keep going like this. And it's funny because the last panel kind of reveals the truth where it's like Baskin-Robbins will know what you need, but unless you explicitly ask, they're not going to bring it up. Because the minute Baskin-Robbins is like, so do you want us to do that for you? Then they have an AR, an action required, like an action item. So the lab or Baskin-Robbins will never be like, do you want me to do that for you? Because then they're basically signing up to do it. They're waiting for you to be like, hey, I need you to do this for me. Okay? So this is a classic. Oh my God. Is this upending some trauma buried deep within me? No. No. What, do you think I was going to say yes? Shut up. Don't put that on me. I don't like the way you're looking at me right now, okay? Judgy is what it is. Hi, I'm an engineer. That means I have excellent employment potential and I can fix things around the house. How are your social skills? Wow, look who wants the moon. God, we are so back, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Camila Cabello. This is a fucking certified banger right here. The classic, ooh, engineers don't have social skills. This one, woo! This is like a cold beer on a hot summer day. Am I right, brothers? No, beer actually makes me like vomit. So that was just a joke. But no, oh my God. I would be surprised, in fact, if we didn't see something like this in an engineering comic, a classic surface level, little jab at the fact that engineers don't have social skills. I think there are more people saying that engineers don't have good social skills than there are engineers without social skills. There are still both. Trust me. There are a lot of engineers that do not have social skills, true, but I think there's a lot of people just in any field that don't have social skills. But I kind of get the argument, right? Because like a lot of engineering roles, you don't have to talk too much to other people as much as you would, let's say, in like a service role, like, you know, like a waiter or like a cashier, something like that. Like every day, every minute, you're talking to a person. Engineers, they can spend like, you know, an entire workday just by themselves. But that doesn't give them an excuse to not be able to socialize with people, because engineers are not just engineers. Like being an engineer shouldn't be your whole thing. You're a person first and engineer second. So as a person, you should have, you know, you should want to work on your social skills. But I do get it that sometimes engineers hide behind the fact of like, well, I'm an engineer. You can't expect me to have social skills. And then it's like, well, then what do you expect for you? Huh? I mean, yeah, sure, I can't talk to someone, but I don't get why that's getting in the way of me being in a lifelong relationship with someone where we just have to talk to each other. Like, be so fucking for real right now. Like, why is that fair? That's like someone not knowing how to swim and then being like, I just don't get why they won't let me compete with Phelps in the Olympics, you know? It's like, my man, you are in just the completely wrong field. You can't even swim. Like, if you fell out of a canoe on a family camping trip, you would die. And you want them to put you in an Olympic pool with Michael Phelps, the human porpoise? I fear I'm getting away from the point, I think. My take here is basically like the whole engineers are not social thing is like not as bad as you think it is, but it's also worse than you think it is. I think everyone should win. I think everyone is wrong. But that everyone is right too. So you can't hate me because I played both sides. Our goal is to ship 1 million units this quarter. Do we have any goals that involve making customers happy? I'm talking about our goals, not their goals. Totally different. That is true. That is Yeah, there's metrics that exist to track, you know, your success and then customer success, right? I think in any job. But it's funny because you would think like, oh, the metrics that control your success should directly, you know, be proportionate to customers' happiness. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Like, I've heard people say that. For example, if a customer submits some issue they have, right? A metric you could have is to close this thing as quick as possible, which, you know, you can achieve that if you just give a quick answer and then just shut the issue right in their face. Sure, your numbers are going to look amazing. It's like, wow, that guy really answers questions fast. That's what you're going to see if you see the internal metric. But then if you go to the customer and you be like, hey, this guy's like really helping you, huh? He's like really quick on this stuff. They'll probably be like, no, yeah, he gives us an answer quickly, but I'd be remiss if I actually called it an answer. He doesn't give us an answer so much as he gives us a response, you know? Like, sure, he responds within the hour, but it's not helpful. And then he closes the ticket in her face. So I'm fucking pissed. That's what the customer says. But if you look at the internal numbers, you're gonna be like, wow, this guy's kind of killing it. And yes, he is killing it. And it is the relationship with the customer. According to Einstein, time flows more slowly in meetings than it does in empty space. That's because people are dense. Is that true? For you, it is. I mean, this one, I don't even know what to break down. It's just very surface level. Like, Dilbert says, you know, time moves slowly in meetings. He makes a joke that that's because people are dense, so it's not empty space. And then the manager's like, is that true? And, you know, he gets told to his face that, you know, for you it is, meaning that he's dense. So, welcome to the Gauruv Virk channel, where we explain comics to people like they're 5 years old. But time does feel like it moves slowly in meetings, right? Like, you know, when you were a kid in class, you would always look up at the clock and you're like, okay, 30 minutes to go. That's only 2 groups of 15. I can do that. And you would have that feeling of like counting down the time before school's out, scream and shout. Well, guess what? That continues into adulthood, and they're called meetings. That's right. You don't have any class. Woo! Yeah. But you have meetings, and you do the same thing, you know? You're like, okay, 40 minutes. That's 2 groups of 20, 4 groups of 10. I could do that. 8 groups of 5. I just went through 5 minutes, so I just have to do that 8 more times. I could do that. I could for sure do that. Just take them one by one, you know? It's like running a marathon. Every time you complete a mile, you go, okay, one more. That's all a meeting is at work. It's just a marathon. So you must pace yourself or you're going to get burnt out. All right. Woo! Last comic, folks. We got the marketing guy. I don't see why engineers get paid more than marketing professionals. Dilbert responds, maybe because engineers designed and built every important part of modern civilization and all you did was misrepresent it. My point is that you need both. Dilbert comes back and says, you really don't. This is kind of like the first comic, right? Engineers put forward this idea that I don't know why salespeople exist. I don't know why marketing people exist. And then marketing people are always like, hey, there's a reason we exist. Only for an engineer to be like, no, I don't think there is a reason for you to exist. And so this is just a classic played out trope. Okay? This is something that, you'll always hear forever. And another thing that you'll always hear forever is that I would like you to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Instagram, okay? I'll see you in the next one.